Hello and welcome to this week's harmonica lesson. So we're going to be looking at what is known as a one-chord blues. So up until now, I've been telling you that pretty much all forms of blues have three chords, which are the one chord, the four chord, and the five chord, which you should hopefully now kind of start knowing that those refer to the two-hole draw, the four-hole blow, and the four-hole draw. So the one-chord blues is just going to sit on that one chord. So it's going to sit on the two-hole draw. So it's going to be the note that you accentuate all the way through this kind of tune. There are loads of songs that use this, but the one we're going to be looking at today is Canned Heat's On the Road Again. And it sounds a little bit like this. So it's just kind of sitting on that two-hole draw there. And just there are little embellishments on either side. So the first embellishment is going to involve a new bend for you, which is the two-hole draw bend. And one thing to bear in mind, there are two bends on the two-hole draw. You can bend it a semitone down, or you can bend it an entire tone down. We want to go for the really far one, so. And the way to get that bend, if you imagine when you're playing a clean two-hole draw, you're saying the word ah, and when you're playing the bend, you're saying the word ka, ka, ka. So think about where your tongue is when you say ka. Your tongue should be quite far back, touching the roof of your mouth, ka, 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 kind of making Darth Vader noises, ka, 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 ka. So that's the kind of mouth position, and you might find that it's sounding a little bit wimpy, that kind of sound, and you want to put just a little bit more oomph into it, a little bit more air, which is something that I've told you to avoid in the past, but it's useful for this two-hole draw because it's quite a strong bend. I.e. it bites back when you're trying to get it, and it should be sounding like this. A couple of other things to bear in mind. Make sure that the harmonica is as far into your mouth as you can get it, with still getting a clean single hole. So if you're playing like with it really far out, kind of old maid's lips, it's really hard to get a nice heavy thick bend. So really gonna get it as deep into your mouth as you can. And you see lots of harmonica players have the harp almost impossibly deep in their mouths, and they still get clean single notes. It's just something that you need to practice being able to do, and it's not just something that it's not something that lip pursers can't do. I play lip pursed, and it works fine. So this little lick at the end of your two-hole draw marathon is just a little triplet. Well, it's kind of a triplet. Think of it as a continuation from that two-hole draw. So you're starting two-hole draw, then that two-draw bend, then one draw, one blow. So it's played really slowly going through. And up to tempo. And hopefully you will have noticed by now that you're also accentuating the offbeat rather than accentuating the beat. So when you're playing that two-hole draw, you're playing in the space in between where you'd be tapping your foot. So you're tapping your foot, 2, 3, 4. So the sounds, the two-hole draw is coming and your foot is in the up position, so before it's tapping back down. So that's called playing on the offbeat. And it's quite hard to get the real feel of that unless you're playing along with a band, because then you'll hear that the band are all accentuating that beat and you're sitting in between, and it sounds very cool. But if you listen to the original recording and listen to Canned Heat on the road again, you'll be able to hear it. But it's on their version they're playing on a harmonica in the key of A. So you can go out and get a harmonica in the key of A and play along, or just play along with me playing this on a C harmonica. So up until now, it goes. So you've got that little lick. And that 2-hole bend might start sounding a little bit like a duck or an elephant. That's completely normal. It takes a bit of time to get it nice and smooth. So the next little bit of the riff has another new bend for you, which is the 3-hole bend, one of the 3-hole bends. So you'll discover that there are actually 3 bends that you can get on that hole. And this bend is called the blue third. It's the first bend. And if you imagine when you're bending that you're using different sections of your tongue, on the 3-hole, that first bend is going to use the tip of your tongue. So it feels like the bend is happening quite close towards the front of your mouth, and then each subsequent bend seems to go further back along the tongue. So the bend should sound like this, as against. So it's quite a tough bend to get sounding really smooth, especially as it's microtonal. So it's not a bend you could find on a piano if you were kind of playing each individual note sequentially. It's a note that lies in between 2 notes, which is what I mean by microtonal, and it's known as the blue third. It's the bluesiest note on the harmonica, and it's really useful to play it kind of jumping between the 2-hole draw and a 3-hole bend, just to give you an idea of where you should be bending to, because then you can feel how it feels when it's bluesy and when it's not bluesy. So when it's bluesy, it should sound like this. Do 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 do. Should be really evocative, and it shouldn't sound like this. So it's just a clean 3-hole bend that should sound quite poppy to you, not very bluesy, and it shouldn't sound like this. So it's kind of Middle Eastern, which is if you bend too far. So it's just a little bend. So this next lick goes up from the 2-hole draw. So it's 2 draw, 2 do, 3 draw, 4 blow, 3 draw, 2 draw. So the whole thing together, I'll play it through nice and slowly, should be. And again. And up to speed. So 1, 2, 3, 4. So hopefully you will have heard that the bits where I'm accentuating that 2-hole draw, I'm doing the old tongue hitting the roof of your mouth, sort of ta 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 da da, and the rest of it is all nice smooth legato lines without using the tongue. So the tongue's going to sit smoothly in the bottom of your mouth. So you've got the tongue tapping the roof of your mouth for the 2-hole draw. Da 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 da, to get that nice staccato sound, and then to get the nice smoothness on the bent licks, it's all just one breath without the tap.